What's up, guys? This is Mike Barkoff. It's been a very long time since I've made a chat with creators. I just haven't really been a fan of the format of talking to a camera screen, uh, so I haven't done that or twisted track lists, redoing reels, stuff to that liking. I'm working on methods of reformatting that, but I did want to talk about Horror Fest a little bit, particularly Scream 6.5. I wrote down some stuff about it so I can kind of come back to this when I'm making this video. Just want to make sure that my audio is catching well enough. But Scream 6.5 was made because of the fact that obviously there are six Scream films, and it is based on an idea that I had probably back in like 2021 when, for a brief moment, we were thinking of redoing the Happy Murder Spree. Not really redoing it, but bringing it back. And the plans fell through because we just couldn't figure it out in the schedule. And that's one of those things where, that project just keeps kind of lowering down the to do list, not going up the to do list, meaning it's low priority. We don't care that much about it. It was just an idea we had. Um, so we figured we'd make something that connected Scream 6 with Friday the 13th, even if it's just by title, but it's not just by title, because what's actually happening in that film, that short film, is you have Ghostface coming to life because of the fact that he's feeding off of the energy that the horror movies that my character is watching. My character, who's watching the horror films, we filmed a scene with me actually watching them, but then we decided no, let's cut it because we wanted it to be simple. We've been very much trying to adhere to the less is more idea of things, especially with Horror Fest, because I feel like we really overstepped, particularly back in 2018 when we were making the second volume for Horror Fest. We just did not like how that turned out. There's definitely good moments in there, but there's more cons than pros. And that's why we didn't do it for a long time. And it wasn't until Draco Lloyd, a good friend of ours, he put it on his Draco Lloyd Adult Zone, and we got positive reviews. And it's like, I think we can, start this up. So we started that up again. I'm kind of straying from the point here because I'm not really reading what I wrote. I'm just using this as kind of a format of what what to say if I do what I'm doing right now. Uh, the subtitle of the film shares that with the sixth Friday the 13th film, which is why I said earlier we're connecting the titles. Um, the sixth Friday the 13th film is subtitled, obviously, Jason Lives. This is Ghostface Lives. Kevin Williamson wrote that entry in Friday the 13th as well as the first Scream movie, so it's a kind of a meta thing, which is what Scream's all about. And Friday the 13th Part 7 is when Ghostface started becoming kind of supernatural, and so we wanted to pay homage, to those two entries in the Friday the 13th film series, even though I'm not a big fan of 7 particularly, but we really just wanted to kind of, tip our hats to it. Um, we were kind of debating if we should even do it this go around or if we should wait and hold it off because of the fact that we made the first episode of the volume 4 of Horror Fest is Southside Entrance, and it is very short. And apart from that, this one's very short. I think it's actually shorter. And then the one of the other 5 episodes is also like just barely over a minute. So it was like, do we do this or do we not do this? Um, we went for it and we did it. And we kind of figured like we have Monster Homecoming with Horror Fest, so that'll kind of make up for the lack of time in the episodes. Um, we've been working on a lot of these Horror Fest episodes since like 2021. When we were kind of slowly working on 1137, we were also slowly working on all of this, and you know, I'm lost again. So give me a second to read this paper a little bit. oh, I think it's also kind of interesting and also probably answer some people's questions. We intentionally did not want horror film sounds to be heard in this, and it wasn't anything to do with copyright or anything like that. It was just because um, Dylan, who directed every episode in Volume 4 of Horror Fest, Dylan Van Houten, him and I both really like things that feel off and weird. And so we both kind of decided, like, let's not have any sound in this. It makes it even more eerie, is what we kind of thought. And so we just kind of kept with that approach. That being said, when I was editing it, I actually was like, damn, should I go film a scene real quick of, like, me touching the remote or watching TV or some shit, and then, put in some audio there, because I felt like while I was editing it, like, this isn't good. But I just kind of stuck to the core principal idea that we had, which, 6 years from now, I'll probably look back on and regret doing. But, there's very much a box that we like to put ourselves in when we make our stuff, because if we don't put ourselves in that box, I feel like we run a little too fast and wobbly, which is ironic to say the least, because we also like to not put ourselves in a box. But that's more so with, like, dialogue. I've noticed recently, especially very recently, that a lot of movies are very they're too perfect. It's not supposed to be like you're watching dialogue force fed to you. You're watching characters evolve and learn things and talk to each other. And so, even dating back to my first movie, full length movie called Infinite, there was a lot of times where somebody would, mess up a line, and I would be like, no, like, we're keeping that, because I feel like it's important to have that stuff in a film, to make it not seem so artificial. But at the same time, kind of almost vice versa, I wanted us very much to stick to the core idea that we had and keep ourselves in that box, because I felt like if we hadn't stuck in that box, like I was just saying a second ago, I would have been like, okay, I'm going to get this scene filmed, and this scene filmed, and this scene filmed, and this scene filmed. And at that point, you're so many steps away from it being a Dylan Van Houten film that it actually would become a Mike Barkoff film, which is not what I was trying to do. So I just said, no, we're sticking to this. It's what's happening. That's how Barking Vans kind of towards the end, um, we kind of disputed, because it was like there wasn't one person willing to meet the other. Me and Jared are brothers, obviously, but I'm not trash talking him or anything like that. But we definitely, there was some things that I was more passionate about than he was, and it just didn't blend all the time. And so Live Free's been all about trying to learn from that, and instead of it being like how I just said it was, where I'm sitting here editing it saying, no, this needs to be fixed and this needs to be fixed, and making a list, it's like, this is a different creator's project, I'm not touching it. And most of the time I see why they did what they did. So it's just like, I might go to them and say, hey, I have a suggestion, but I'm not going to say, hey, I'm forcing you to do this, because that's just not what Live Free's about. But that is the Chat with Creators for Scream 6.5, and in a way, it's also kind of for the entirety of Horror Fest Volume 4. I will have one next week strictly focused on the episode entitled King, which is the Season 5 premiere of Chapters, and I will also be talking a little bit more about Chapters 5th season, which is coming up next year. So if you want to hear more about that, definitely check that one out. I hope you guys have enjoyed the return to Chat with Creators, and have a good day.